Hey, I try to stay interactive with my chat room, and then this is a really good question that one just asked. Is the game to be waking people up, or to let this flow of evolution take its shape naturally while increasing one's own vibration and knowledge?
It's a bit of both. However, I will add that in my particular view, nobody has the power to wake anybody else up. The awakening actually comes from within. Again, it can be a little bit of a shadow play. There can be a little parallax view involved in this, in which we imagine that the awakening process is taking place from something that happens outside. This is basically an illusion created by the ego. Actually, the awakening process is primarily something that is already happening within, but because we are so afraid of our inner being, and we're also afraid of what's very perniciously called the dark side of our personality, we are not even able to feel anymore where these inner changes take place, because we run to medication, we run to the media, we run to our stupid friends. Everybody's out there in the world interacting externally, and we're very much divorced from our own inner natural senses and our own inner natural impulses. But having said that, that doesn't mean that these psychological unconscious states stop. And so when I talk about age of revealing and age of awakening, I'm actually really referring, because all the shaman knew this, all the shaman understood very deeply, that this is about inner changes. And those can be tracked through astrology. This is the basis of the Maya, and all prophecy was based on certain external things, like astrology, being used to track these seasonal changes in the psyche of human beings, but never forgetting for a moment that all true awakening takes place within. Then what's really happening is something motivates you then from the outside to begin consciously seeking. And it's at this point that the conscious mind goes, I picked up this interesting book, or hey, I just heard this interesting radio podcast, or hey, I just met this interesting person, who started talking to me about a lot of this, and it explains it. Or even more deeply, things in your own private life. I mean, things in your job, things in your relationship, things in paying your taxes, coming up against the institutions of corruption, might spark what I call the blue flame of anger, might spark the spirit of rebellion. And then externally you go, well, I'm going to find out about this. How many books do we know? Even bestsellers, books by ex-mafia people, books by conspiratorial writers who have just got so mad, people who've written on the so-called justice system. It's really the injustice system. How many books and exposures have been done, even including military generals, because people got sick to death of having to deal with the external form of tyranny. This is true for Scott Ritter, for instance, who was the weapons inspector to Iraq, who basically came back and realized this thing is just a tissue of complete deception and lies. And during 9/11, people can cast their mind back. Look how many books and writings were done from even insiders like John Dean and many others because of their frustration. So never again, it ties into these darker emotions I was talking about and how they're so deeply misunderstood. They are actually some of the finest things that we have. These are virtues. These are incredible guides on the road to true truth. Exactly. They spark you. Yeah, they spark an individual who may be just, completely just a couch potato, ready to just be surfing all day long. Not that there's anything wrong with surfing in itself. But the thing is, that, you see, this spirit of rebellion and this anger factor that goes, I'm not going to take this anymore. What the hell do these people think they're doing? I know nurses who got fired for the slightest thing, and that sparked their entire interest in finding out who is behind this medical leviathan. Who are these people who dare do this to me? I'm a good person. I've worked hard all my life. I know people in NASA that this happened to. I know Freemasons that this happened to. You see, right across the board, most of the people I've physically met actually got into this subject because they got angry. They got really, dejected about what was taking place to them and how their own effort and lives were being ruined by these establishments. That sparked their interest to find out, to go deeper and deeper and deeper to find out what was really going on.
Well, I must say that everyone is fascinated by this, by your work, Michael, because our chat room is just blazing right now. So, and and back to what you were saying a while ago, one listener said that the problem is we're not using both sides of our brain. And you go into that very well. Explain that a little bit.
Well, he's absolutely right. This is another part of the trauma. When we talk about left and right sides of the brain, even when we talk about conscious and unconscious, we have to stop there for a moment and revise, and we have to examine what we've just said. Are we implying that there's a split in the brain? I mean, the biologists accept it, and the psychologists accept it, and speak about it almost as if it's just, matter of course. Hang on. Why is there not one consciousness? And then you even get into Freud, and he's got 3 parts of the anatomy of the psyche. Fascinating discovery. Then you go into Jung, and he divides it into 4. And you go into various other scholars, and even go over to the East, they have their own paradigm, and you're finding, hold on a minute, are we talking about one consciousness here? Are we talking about something that's deeply fragmented? And you basically have a schizoid nature within. You have a war going on inside your own psyche, and that's not even to mention what Wilhelm Reich brings up, where he says, oh, but your mind is even at war with your body. Your biology, your biotics is a kind of brain. Aren't your nerves a brain? Isn't your stomach a brain? Don't the organs have intelligence? In many cultures of the world, the heart was the center of intelligence, not the brain. And recently, a couple of years back, they found out that the heart is actually made from neural cells, meaning that it is a brain. They've actually discovered this, that there's neural cells in the heart. So we're talking about all forms, and I've addressed this so many times in my work, that man is literally, not only is he the temple of the living God, but he's a temple in ruins. His vocabulary of psyche and his vocabulary of body, everything is in a state of ruins. And so in that state, how on earth can such a man, who, as your listener said, who's in that state of dichotomy, who may not even be using both sides of his brain and maybe only using a small part of even the part that he's using, how can that creature possibly create social harmony, social justice, and utopia? It is absolutely impossible. And up until very recent times, people believed that you could do this. They believe, oh, create a political party. I mean, what's so difficult about this? Wait a minute. You just get lots and lots of people together. Go out and give some flyers, wave a few placards, do a few commercials. We need a group of people. Let's get a big mass group together. Well, they tried that in communist Russia. They tried it in Adolf Hitler's times. All right? What was the crowd not big enough at Nuremberg? We have tried that. We have tried every other thing, and that's why I said it takes time. Man is in a journey. He needs to make all the mistakes, because otherwise he'll be seduced by thinking that psychology is not important. It's only in now that we realize that we have to come back to the door. It's like Alice in Wonderland. The more Alice runs away from the house, the more she turns up back at the doorstep again. That is a very, very important metaphor. It's because we are being brought back to consciousness because we left consciousness at the door, and we tried all these other remedies, all these other political, religious, psychosocial, attempts to remedy things, and at the very most, you'll have a certain topical, remedy.
Yeah.
But then you go to the scholars, then you go to the experts, the people doing the polls and the people studying the mind, and I'm talking about huge organizations that spend billions on doing this kind of research, and they now find that Western man, British man, American man is unhappier today. The statistics of depression are unbelievable. I have them somewhere, but I haven't got time to go find them. But just generally speaking, man is a much more unhappier creature, even since the 1920s, his affluence has skyrocketed with all the gadgets that he has, all the leisure time that he has, all the relative affluence that he has. He's actually a much more depressed and unhappy creature. And depression claims the lives of so many teens. Like, I think it's like second to car accidents or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but it's very high. And we only need to look at the medication rates to realize, and the illegal drug addiction and all of these things, to realize that this is absolutely true. And so this has been the result of doing exactly what I said. There's a price to pay for going down the wrong road. It is an adventure. You have to do it. You can't stop mankind from doing this. Mankind needs to exercise its pent-up aggressions in war. If you're not going to look at your own self, psychologically and spiritually, expect war. It was said by Lao Tzu thousands of years ago, and I'll repeat it today. If you don't take the true legitimate road, then expect some pernicious outletting or venting of that particular energy. This is the fact. Carl Jung said, and Freud and the great psychologist said, if you don't deal with your own masculine and feminine within, then expect rotten relationships. Expect loss, expect divorce, expect treachery, deception, hostility, guilt, shame, and the whole cocktail that comes with it. That has an origin. It's because you're not doing the true work within yourself. There you have this negative consequence. So for every pernicious thing that you see in this world, and I don't care what it is, teen addiction, pornography, whatever it might be, the ecology disasters of the world, the fauna death all over the place, and in fact even the climate changes, all of the things that you might point to that say this is negative. That is a result of the capitulation of something else that has not been done,